My name's Jared. I'm a graduate of the New Media program here from 2011, which is a lot longer ago than it feels. I work at Discovery Communications now at the Discovery Channel, and I am a digital and social media producer, so that means that for every show that's on the Discovery Channel, I'll get assigned a show, and I'm responsible for everything in the digital space on its website, and running the social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever new thing is coming up. And it's really fun. I always make the joke that I've learned more about science and history working at this job than I ever did in high school. So it's really interesting. I do like it a lot.
Mark Lindsay. I work better standing up. Do you mind? I'm an executive in the film industry. Been producing, distributing, financing films for over 30 years. Worked for studios like Miramax and started out with Larimar and with the Warner Brothers. My job now is a consultant for independent producers. I actually help raise financing, help them to mold their packages. I worked on films like Chicago, Kill Bill, Sin City. For the millennials, the Spy Kids movies, if you guys like Spy Kids, that's the one they always know. Like I said, now I'm an independent helping other producers, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Deanna Morosoff. I am the Marketing and PR Manager at Two Stage Children. We are a nonprofit that was formed after September 11th to help families who lost someone on 9/11, and now 15 years out we've expanded to international victims of terrorism, military families of the fallen. So I handle all external communications, so I work with the development team to do fundraising, and I also work with our program team to promote all of the programs that we're doing for families and kind of encourage participation.
I'm Steve Miraglia. I work for the Madison Square Garden Company. I'm a manager in their media relations department, primarily the corporate communications, but it involves Knicks, Rangers, Liberty, Westchester Knicks here in White Plains. I handle, unlike you, with the external communications, we handle a lot of the internal communications and statements and dealing with everything under the sun at Madison Square Garden.
Great. Thank you.
My name is Phil Sanford. I graduated from Purchase College with my liberal studies degree. 2011. Did take one class with Jared as well.
It was a memorable class.
Yes, Studio Comp with Jim McElwain. And suggest that for maybe who have a free elective. And I currently work at JPMorgan Chase, most specifically the corporate investment bank of the JPMorgan arm. So less so the Chase and consumer banking that we see every day, and more of the wholesale products and services, asset management, investment banking, etc. Our team is marketing and communications all rolled into one. We all go up to the same vertical, and so that's not only marketing and how we promote the firm, but internal and external press and communications and how we are discussing and protecting the firm. External press is obvious, or external communications being press and media relations, which we work with a lot, and internal communications, similar to how Steve described it, but more of spreading the consistent message and mission about what the firm is doing to our thousands of employees.
All right, excellent. So it's very impressive to have a title and to be where you are, but to be new to wanting to go this path. If you could think back, whether it's recently or longer ago, what steps did you take right before graduation to prepare you on a path? And then if you want to go more recently, how did you kind of move your career path along to kind of eventually get to where you are? Because clearly you didn't just get this first job, I'm imagining. You had several steps. So whoever would like to take the first question?
Well, I was, I'll just start, I guess. I was sitting in Fort Awesome one morning here, still despise the name, but woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. And I knew that I wanted to work in sports, and I had a few internships, one with Channel 2, their sports department. And I had an old media guide laying around, and I started thumbing through it one day, and I came across a guy's name who became my boss. I picked up the phone and cold called him. And it doesn't work all the time because when I looked to get second and third jobs, I fell flat a few times. So there's always a certain extent of luck, I guess. That job was with the Yankees radio network, and I was there for 5 years. I did production for them. And I guess, you know, the luck aspect of it was the fact that my boss was at his desk and he picked up the phone, but the 98% of it was me making that call and then shooting the email, following up on things. And from there, it grew my career. Obviously, I've stayed in New York for a while. Now I'm at Madison Square Garden. I was at CBS Sports Radio briefly after the Yankees. But the communications field, especially in sports, I guess, is so close-knit. I've met a lot of people that I still keep in touch with, that I worked with on one project as a producer, and now a totally different project pitching a story about, Black Lives Matter and the Westchester Knicks. There's people that I graduated with here at Purchase that now write for the Journal News, like Mike Zacchio, who I can call and say, hey, look, I've got this story, I want to get it in the Journal News, what can you do, what direction can you kind of point me in? And so I guess my overlying message would be the connections and the communications that you have with one another, both here and then as a professional, are invaluable.
Great. Others?
I would just say and Steve, I think, Steven, makes a good point. You got to get outside of your comfort zone. You're going to get a lot of no's, and you got to be able to take those no's and have some thick skin. I went to school in North Carolina. I was radio, TV, film out of a small school up in the mountains. Had a job at a TV station as a news photographer, and a brother who was doing residency out in LA. And I knew the only way I was going to start my career in the film business was to go to Los Angeles. So I took a round-trip ticket and never went home. Got a job, and the first job I got was in accounts payable. I'm terrible at accounting, guys. Not what I went to school for, but I knew that companies hire from within. And if you get your foot in the door, you work your way around. So I started playing on the entertainment softball league. And I got to meet other people in other divisions, which at that time there was an actor strike. So I started seeing everybody. I wanted to be in production, but all those production jobs were union jobs. And if you didn't have an uncle or a brother or a father or somebody in the union, you couldn't get those. And then when they went on strike, they weren't making any money. So I saw the guys in distribution. They were traveling business class, they're going to the south of France. That's not a bad gig. I think I want to do that. So I got into the business side of entertainment, which there are marketing jobs, there are PR jobs, there are sales jobs, there are every kind of job you guys are looking for and imagining you can do. But my advice would be, take a shot, get a foot in the door, and then see where that can take you, especially if it's a big corporation. Like I was at Larimar at the time, and they had bought the old MGM lot. So I was delivering checks around the lot. I mean, it was great. I was going to Dallas, backstage set with Dallas, and all those things, and it was where I wanted my career to start. So I would just advise, take chances, get outside of your comfort zone, pick up the phone and call somebody, right? It's the first thing. You're going to get a lot of no's, but be able to take those no's and turn them into yes and use it as motivation.
Yeah, after I had 4 internships in college to kind of figure out the direction I wanted to go in, and still after graduating, I wasn't exactly sure what type of PR I wanted to do, what I wanted my career in communications to look like. So I started at a digital media company called Blip, and about 3 months after I started there, they were acquired by a larger company and I was laid off. So again, back to hearing no and getting used to hearing no, I had to figure out what to do next. So I went to a panel like this at Hofstra University. I met someone, and that connection got me my next job at Hunter Public Relations. So I worked at an agency for several years after that before I came to this job. So just kind of be ready for all of the twists and turns. You're never going to really know. You can't prepare yourself for it, but don't get discouraged, because if I did that, I wouldn't have gone to that panel. I wouldn't have kept pushing myself, and I wouldn't be where I am now.
On that note, actually, I think for me, there were 2 major things that helped me prepare for life outside of Purchase, which can be scary. One would be internships for sure. I actually started interning sophomore year, which I don't even think you can do anymore. And I interned at like MTV and the Maury Povich show. and at ABC, and pretty much every job that I've gotten since then has been because of connections I made during those internships, including a job. I was interning at ABC on the soap opera that's now canceled, and actually the first job I had right the day after graduation was from that internship. So it was really valuable, and being really close to the city, it would be foolish not to take advantage of that too. And then the other major thing, which maybe was even more of a big deal, was I was in PTV. I was a manager for 3 years when I was here. And the connections I made and the things I learned from everyone in that organization, and we were really close. And we have like reunions all the time, we still see each other. So that was really helpful. So I really encourage that too.
Phil, I don't want to cut you off here. I do that often. I would say that the resources that you have here are pretty good. Wendy did a great job. She was here when I was in school. And I was a journalism major here. My professors, I was speaking of highly before, Virginia Breen, would take us places. She would take us to, newsrooms. And I would just recommend embracing that and taking advantage of those opportunities, because it's getting your foot in the door. I went, a classmate of mine, her father was a programming director at ESPN Radio. I was the only one in the class that went with a stack of resumes and was handing them out to random people in the hallway. I got a call and I interned there for 6 months. So these are all just, I guess, different ways of making these connections and launching your career. Sorry, Phil.
Well, I don't want to be the only one that's Steve always did have a face for radio, so I'm glad. My advice would be not to be too picky or closed-minded, and I'm not sure if the phrase is to think wide open here anymore, but it was quite a lot. The idea that to do something creative or to create content or produce things, you have to go to an agency or something like that isn't necessarily true. And it's not just a large bank, but any large company is doing a lot of those things inside under their own roof. So, as I mentioned at JPMorgan, it's we have our own social media team, our own digital production team. I personally do digital media and do website and product launches. There are a group of people whose job it is to be friends with the Wall Street Journal writers and the Times writers. So if you have journalism major friends now, stay close with them, like Steve said, and just don't be too set in your ways. I guess my post-purchase life started still at Purchase. I was working here for the Purchase College Association after I graduated. I helped launch Purchase Park to Fly, and from there, you get a lot of experience just doing a bunch of different stuff, whether it's learning how to communicate to professional colleagues, because that's a lot different than talking to classmates or even professors, or just how to handle yourself in professional settings. Take every advantage you get. Jared was saying PTV. There's other organizations like that. If you're not into creating television or something like that, just get as involved as possible. Don't be afraid to hop on a train and go to the city and take advantage of everything that's there. That's the reason I came to Purchase in the first place, and I think Steve, also from upstate New York, probably a similar thing. So, college is your 4 or 5 years to just, go nuts and take chances, and so don't be afraid to do that.
All right, excellent. So let's think about opportunities in the particular industries that you represent, or the types of firms or companies. So oftentimes we hear a marketing job or a social media job, but if there's a title that you might suggest as a search term that maybe the students wouldn't have thought of, or something that's becoming more hireable in the next few years than maybe when you started out, if you have any thoughts on trends.
I mean, it's a little bit weird to say, but when I graduated in 2011, the digital department at Discovery, even though it seems like it wasn't that long ago, was just starting to develop their digital space. And I think a lot of companies in the entertainment industry are just figuring out what they're doing on digital. Because obviously, Netflix, Hulu, there's a lot of space a lot of room in the digital space, and it's continuing to grow. So I think that if I was graduating now or in the next couple of years, I would be looking at and I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I'd be looking at where is there going to be room in the digital space to go.
I know for mine, it's digital distribution for film.
Sure.
I mean, it's no longer just about having it in the theaters. Netflix, Amazon, they're coming out and they're taking out everybody, big guns. And not only in the US market, international. They're buying multiple territories. That's how I finance my films a lot of the time now. They'll come in and they'll buy the rights for the films. And you'll never see it in the theaters. And it's more because of what you guys are used to. Millennials don't need to see the films on the big screen. I grew up having to go to the theater. You want to see it in the movie theater. You guys love watching them on your phones. You love watching them on tablets. So great on you. Whoever wants to see it and how it gets the film financed and you're making money and the producers get paid back, great. So I totally agree with you. Digital distribution right now is where it is. I've lost a revenue stream with no more DVD.
Yeah.
You know, you forget about DVD now. Those rights are going down. It's all digital distribution and around the world. So TV's now fighting for its own survival. You know, it's a matter of where's TV going to be in the next, I should say, main broadcast TV. Cable's fine. You guys are doing great. It's a matter of how many people though. How many students out here actually pay for cable? 1, 2, 3. This is the problem with you guys. Nobody's going to be paying for cable.
Yeah.
These kids go online, they see it for free. That's the problem I already have with movies. I mean, I talked to my son at school, what are you doing? Watching Kill Bill. I'm like, how the hell are you watching Kill Bill? Well, I'm like, you're pirating my own movie. Come on. So, you know, there's that divide on what's right and what's not right and what's available. Everything's available to them. That's what's so great about where they are now. It's a matter of how do we monetize it. I think that's more of what you're going to be looking for in the banking sector especially. You know, how do you monetize this? How do you sit back and say, okay, Discovery's going to be worth X amount in another 10 years when the cable revenues are dropping and the money's going away. How do you work on those things? At MSG, you got live.
Well,
You know,
yeah, I guess that's
so
what makes the company that I work for a little bit different, and it's what our CEO is preaching on. What people pay for now is that live, once-in-a-lifetime experience. So that's where we have, I guess, a leg up.
Correct.
You know, we have concerts at Madison Square Garden. We have Adele that comes in there. We have Louis C.K. that comes in. We have, you know, from the LA Forum in Los Angeles to the controlling interest that we have to Chicago Theater and the Bosch Center in Boston. We're spread all over the country, and we are building an arena for concerts only in Las Vegas. So it's really taking advantage, I guess, of those opportunities, and like Phil said, be open-minded about it. I went to school expecting to be on TV, contrary to what he said about my looks just 5 years ago. And had there been a communications type major, I would have jumped on that over journalism. But I thought open, I guess, in a sense, and said, all right, I have to have a fundamental basis, which was writing, and I took advantage of it. Now, when I hire people, I don't know, I don't know if there's a search term that I could give anybody, because now, I guess it's just keeping your resume up to date, and using the keywords that are going to go through computer systems, because now I get 500 resumes. I post a job, and 3 days later, I have 1,000 resumes that an automated system sends to my desktop, and I'm printing out 100 of them, and half of them I don't even get to. So when I'm looking for things, I just look for experience, but I hire a lot of entry-level people. So it's tough. I look for internship experiences. I look for what do they know about the news? I mean, this is such a different time now. Newspapers are cutting people left and right. So yes, it's moving all online. So I don't know. I just look for those types of experiences. I want to hire people that have the experiences because I know they've made an effort to go out and get them.
You brought up a good point though about the job sites. If anybody goes to like Glassdoor or any of these things, are you applying to those, everybody, or looking for those kind of things? I don't know how you get a job out of that because of exactly what he says. You got 10,000 people applying for the same job. This is where we're talking about you got to get to know someone. You have to have a name. Never address a resume. If I get a resume, cover letter to whom it may concern, dear sir, you know where it goes? In the trash. You got the internet available to you. Find a name. Go to a company, find a name like you did. Put a name on there. Make a contact. Because otherwise it's just lazy. No, I mean, you're going to have 10,000 people doing dear sir. I don't care, if you have the best qualifications, you're not going to look at it. Also, if you do apply, there, like you said, there are key words that the computer looks for. In the job posting, make sure that you put those in your cover letter or in your resume and things that you've done so that you can make that next step before they just kick it out,
Sure.
right?
I mean, my current role, I've been in for about 1.5 years now, and I saw the job on the Team Works online. It's one of a million different websites that you can go to apply for things. So I saw the job posted, and I said, damn, who do I know at Madison Square Garden? And because of my experiences at CBS Sports Radio, I knew the director of the Knicks media relations. So I shot him a note and just said, hey, look, I've tried to get Carmelo Anthony on my show 1,000,000 times, and you've always told me to, get away, stop asking. But hey, I'm looking for this job now. And he forwarded my resume to the HR rep, and she called me, and we had a great chat, and the rest was history. But yeah, it's going above and beyond. It's not to whom it may concern. It's, dear Mr. So-and-so, I've got,
And it's about like what is the degree of separation? And Wendy in the alumni relations office can help you out with this, or it's a simple LinkedIn thing. But this happened for someone who graduated from Iona, where I did my MBA, reached out, found me on LinkedIn, and said, hey, I was looking for a job at JPMorgan. I noticed that you're a fellow alum, and I'd never met the kid. I have no knowledge of his competency, and otherwise have no other reason to stick my neck out for him. But I took a look around and said, okay, here's some different job listings, here are the hiring managers. And then he was able to, as Mark said, not have a cover letter that said, to whom it may concern. That's not really answering the question of titles that you're looking for. But I guess a quick piece of advice is just like, our generation, Mark's using millennials a lot. I am a millennial, so I can say that. We have LinkedIn, and we can say, okay, it literally says this is a first degree connection, this is a second degree connection. Be professional on your LinkedIn, and don't have your,
solo cups.
yeah, solo cups. But I was going to say.
But it all comes back around, because you need to start while you're here.
Right.
With the people you meet in this room, while you're at Purchase, whether you're at PTV or whatever the newspaper is called now, I don't know. It's been like 3 different things. Those are the people that you're going to want to talk to after college.
Yeah, so let's kind of go back to the courses. Many of you have mentioned communication type courses, journalism, internships, and related clubs. Is there a course that you might have taken not in your major that you now think is really useful? Like you're really glad you took either that course, maybe in a different, math or something like that?
I was going to say the same thing. I never thought that I would have to do any type of math ever, and I'm not good at math. But I figured in college, let me get some experience with it. Let me learn what I need to learn for just the basics. And I was building a budget at my first job, and I was so thankful for taking that class. I didn't have to, but I'm glad that I did. So I highly recommend, don't be a communications major and just forget about all the math classes, because it will come back and it's very important.
You'll have to do Excel spreadsheets, so
Yeah.
get to know Excel.
Yeah.
I think any class that makes you have to write a lot and get some really good feedback on it, because whether it's a cover letter or it's even once you have a job and it's articulating yourself in an email, because that's how it's done. It's not conference calls and meetings, etc. A good, lean company won't have meetings about meetings. They'll have decisions to make based on, whether it's a presentation or a deck or an email. So learn how to write for sure. And something that I took was creating web docs. You take that, Judy, with O-Ring?
I don't think so.
John, you were in that class with me. I think I might have actually dropped that class. But anyway. Yes.
So bad example.
It was a new medium. Yeah. But it was good because, our generation, we're automatically more knowledgeable about the way that, web media is being handled than a lot of people who have been in the industries for 20 or 30 years. And it's good to become subject matter experts in where things are going, which is what Jared was talking about earlier.
I had another one too, that off the beaten path, but I actually enjoyed my acting class. And I'm not an actor, but it actually helps you to get outside of your own skin, and you get more comfortable in trying to create a character. Because sometimes you have to create a character going in to interview for these jobs. you have to pump yourself up. So it helps you actually to get within that mode of, oh, I got to put on a suit and tie. You guys aren't used to putting on suit and ties. I got to go interview at MSG. I better know the part. So it actually helps you to learn to study a part. You got to really get down and research. Know what this guy does. Know what the programs are. Know what how the team's doing, so you can come in and have something in common to say about it. And I think the acting class actually helps a lot of that, especially for the more creative type kids in the room who want to do that kind of thing.
I would agree 100% with that. I was on a one-track mind with communication and journalism, and that's pretty much all I did, other than play baseball here, which I consider a class. So I think that was also beneficial to my success, I guess. But when I went on and got my master's, it wasn't acting, but it was public speaking.
Right.
And it's just important. It's a good leadership quality to be able to sit in a room and have a discussion with people. You're going to do that the rest of your professional lives. I mean, unless you're a hermit and just working from home. I don't know. I 100% agree. That's the best thing I ever did was public speaking class.
I'm glad you asked this question because it's been coming back into my life a lot recently, where when I was here at Purchase, and I think we all have to take that freshman writing class, whatever it is. And my professor noticed that she thought I was a lot better at writing than I thought I was. So she encouraged me to take a lot of writing classes while I was here, and I did teaching good prose with Kathleen McCormick, and I became a writing tutor for freshmen while I was here. And it had nothing to do with my major, it had nothing to do with new media. But it felt like something I wanted to pursue and get really good at. So fast forward to working at Discovery, and it turns out that I'm the only one on my team in digital media that has any writing experience whatsoever. So whenever there's a project, I found like my niche, or like if there's a project that requires any writing, it comes to me. So I think becoming whatever it may be for you, becoming sort of a jack of all trades really, really helps. I'm also the only one on my team that knows how to use like Photoshop and Premiere, which is crazy, and it's a little more normal here to have all those skills, which is great, but they definitely come into play later. And I've been taking screenwriting classes lately, born out of my interest in writing Premiere.
Yeah, excellent. So if there were top 3 skills that you would say, make sure you leave here with, I know many of you have mentioned writing, but what top 3?
Time management / project management, in a way of prioritizing tasks towards an end goal. I guess, did you say not counting writing?
Oh, no, you can count.
Well, any communication, this is a communications panel, so this is maybe going without saying, but articulating yourself verbally, or even in an email or a quick text even, get your point across. It's a great, our CEO says it sometimes in town halls, is I didn't have time to write a short email, meaning it's actually harder to get all your thoughts in one concise thing. So that's 2. I don't have a third.
I would say attention to detail is a really big one. My professors always really pushed us on that because, especially as communicators, you put something out there with a mistake and then it's your company's reputation that's on the line. So you really, really have to double, triple, quadruple check everything that you're putting out. I think another thing is willingness to do anything, be very open about what you're assigned to do. I went into my job with no graphic design skills whatsoever, but I'm the only one who has that ability to do it, so I've become quite a good graphic designer. But just kind of be open and be willing, because you earn a lot of respect from the leadership in whatever organization you're at in doing that. That's 2. The third's writing.
Yeah, I would have to say, the basics of writing and being able to communicate and articulate yourself. Yeah, that's all great. Our CEO in town halls will always say to us, don't be afraid to take a chance. And yes, the attention to detail everything has to be in line in order for that chance to work. But go out, bring ideas to the table, because that's what companies like. I mean, that's really what's going to get you to the next level. So I guess that would be the one that I would go on.
All right. Others?
Mine would be, certainly, I think in production, whether it's digital distribution, production, those kind of things, you need to know how to put your hands on the equipment, especially if you're looking to do that, if you want to be in that kind of area. Also, definitely creative writing. You want to be able to either communicate one way or another effectively with these people. So if you're like in my business, you're writing coverage, you're going to start out writing coverage on scripts. I need to know what you like, what you don't like, why. And as you said, you got to stick your neck out and say, I like it because of this, and I may sit there and say, you're full of crap, I hate it, just go on. But yet, I need to know that other opinion, right? It's not your job to argue with the boss, it's your job to argue a point. And they may say they like it or they don't like it and go on, but it may be the most creative and greatest idea they've ever heard, and it's kudos to you. But again, I mean, I work for the Weinsteins. They would tell you all the time, you're crazy, get out of here, right? But yet, every once in a while they go, not a bad idea. And you write it down, so you get kudos there. I think you need some business classes too. I know all of us in communications hate that, but if you have some business classes, something behind you to help you with that, because especially if you go into the business side of any type of these things, marketing, PR, all those kind of stuff, you need that. You need to know how to, and I didn't take any, and that was something I had to learn along the way, over 30 years, just as a basket. But if you go in already having some of that, you're well above the curve from everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I would say writing was a huge one for me, like I said, but I think public speaking and learning how to talk to people, is a skill that I definitely developed here, which comes into play every single day, obviously. And the other thing, like you were saying, was practical skills. There's nothing stopping you from joining PTV and learning how to pick up a camera. And when I first started interviewing, before I had really any experience outside of college, they wanted to know, like, what did I do at PTV? And it's like, well, I took cameras and shot live events and mixed the video and stuff. They didn't know I was talking about striptease and fall ball. But, it still was worthwhile experience that was impressive to people.
Yeah. So if there's something you could have done differently, either while you were in college or to get to the career that maybe you still aspire to, what might it be?
I guess to Phil's point earlier, I was pretty close-minded. I got a job right out of college working for the New York Yankees. I grew up rooting for them. I was all of a sudden thrown in a clubhouse with Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez and Mariano Rivera, and I was like in all my glory. And I stayed there probably too long because I just loved it. And there's something to be said for loving going into work every day and doing this stuff and creating, but these friendships that I still have, but I didn't grow as fast as I could have because I was blinded by this absolute love that I had. And, a couple years later, I got this job producing, which I absolutely hated for a long time because it wasn't what I was doing, but it was helping me grow. It was giving me a new skill set. I was talking to newer people. I was learning different intricacies of the business, which got me to where I am now. So I guess is to just have a healthy balance, not to get too high or too low. And at one point, that's where I was. So
my thing I always tell is that you set your goal. You have an idea what you're going to be, and because it's going to go like this, your career. Don't be afraid to change that goal, but always have a goal set. I wanted to produce, and I got off onto another tangent of doing distribution, licensing, sales, and distribution, and you start making money. This is what you get into the thing of you start making money, and you start having bills, and then you have a family, and then you have more bills, and you get caught in that of not being able to take those chances once you have those things. So while you're young, while you can, take chances, do different things. What you think you may want to do, you may get there and hate it. So that's why you're here now. That's the beautiful thing of what you're here. You can take those chances. And you may have found out you really love it and you want to do that. That's all you want to do. Great. So pursue it and go for it. But I always say set a goal and find out how you're going to get there, because it's going to be a ladder. It's going to be a ladder that it's not just going to be vertical. You're going to be all over the place, and your career. And it should be. I think that's why you grow. Your career grows.
Yeah, and I agree with what Stephen was saying. I would say you have to be very open-minded. I was very close-minded. I did not want to work for a PR agency ever, but I wanted to be in PR. So if you know how to start a career in PR, most people say work at an agency, there's so many more opportunities, but I did not want to do that. So I took the job at the digital media company, and it ended up not working out. And then I said, okay, where do I go from here? I don't want to work at an agency. I don't want to work at an agency. My next job was at an agency, and I got the best experience there because I kind of went outside of what I thought I wanted to do, and I do not regret that experience whatsoever. I'm so happy that I eventually opened my mind and did that.
I will say with agencies in terms of just looking at resumes, and I'm sure that what you did was set yourself apart, is these things are so huge. They're like factories, basically. So it's very easy to get swallowed up. It's actually one of the reasons why when I looked to change from a production, this side of the business to media and public relations, I avoided agencies because I was already 30 years old and didn't know, what, I didn't want to take that risk. But you have to do, if it's something to get yourself a foot in the door, you have to find a way to stand out amongst thousands of people every day that are walking through these doors. That's just like a little side note. Sorry.
To that point, a way to stand out, and this is less of a I wish I had, and more of a I'm glad I did, because I met people who do say I wish I had, is that I went straight from graduation to pursuing my MBA right afterwards. I didn't take any time off. What Mark was saying is, life gets busy, and I've only been out for 5 years. I can't imagine, being ambitious enough to go back to school completely out of the sort. So if you think that your career ambitions, are in management spaces or in senior leadership, or you don't want to stop learning because you think that there's a lot more that you want to learn, continue on your education. Find a job that will pay for it. Even that would be great, double whammy. But that's a way to set yourself apart. Is then you're 24, you're 25, and you've been interning for 6 years, or interning and working. Oh, by the way, I have a master's in business administration, or a master's in communications, or whatever, what have you, because that's a lot of people will value rolling your sleeves up and having experience. But if you could have your experience and be polished and have the education on the same side, I think that will raise your ceiling for sure.
Bill makes a great point, because unfortunately now a 4-year degree is the common denominator. All you guys are going to have a 4-year degree. It's the guy who has the master's, especially if you're going for upper management. You start looking at jobs, especially after you've done it for about 10, 15 years and you want to move up, they're all looking for a master's. And I don't have one. I was working the whole time. I never had the opportunity to do it. I could have done it for companies. I had companies that would pay for it, right? Just never did it. I was busy. So if you have that opportunity to do it now, and you have the financial means to do it now, you have a company that's going to sponsor you, I would say do that, especially if that's the area you want to go to. If you're in production, you don't necessarily need it. If you're going to be making films, or you're going to be doing other things in that side, you don't necessarily need it. But if you want to be on the business side, and you want to grow, and you want to be head of the company, you're going to have a master's at one time or another.
At least, no.
Yeah.
At least a master's, maybe two.
Yeah.
All right, so before we open it up to questions, I'm going to let them give one last piece of advice, or something that they didn't have a chance yet to tell you about their career path that they think you really should know. So, Jared, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I did mention it, but I think, I want to stress that, picking up as many skills as you can while you're here is so important. Because there's so many classes that I took here where I was like, why, it was a gen ed requirement, or it was a requirement for my major. I'm like, I'm never going to need to do this. I don't, like web design and stuff like that, or photography. I thought I'll never use this. And it really does come back into play. So picking up as many different things as you can while you're here would be, ideal.
2 words of advice. 1, if you haven't done it already, please clean up your social profile. Because people like me that are looking to hire you, I'm creeping. I'm looking. So whether you got friends posting pictures of you doing stupid stuff, or you post your own, get it out now. Especially seniors. If you're looking for jobs, we're looking. So that's number 1, okay? Number 2, I advise all my students that I teach is you need a website. Has anybody here got their own website? You do? What do you post on your website?
I'm a new media major, so I have one for my video artwork and my clients that I have. I have a website.
Excellent. You want me to tell you why you do it? First, you're going to post about your resume and yourself and everything, and any kind of papers or things you write. But you're going to use that to get into people like us. You're going to call and you're going to say, hey, Phil, I'm thinking about going into the business of banking and everything. could you give me 5 minutes of your day just to interview you for my website? And you're going to interview him, and you're going to put it up there. And at the same time, you're not going to ask him for a job. You say, hey, if you ever hear anything, please let me know. But now you have an in. You're going to use that to get ins with people. It's the best way. People love to be complimented about what they do. You're going to find somebody at a company you want to go to do business with and see either what type of films or TV or stuff they do. And you're going to go to Jared and say, Jared, I've seen your stuff on Discovery Network. I love what you guys are doing. You know, can I get 5 minutes again? He's going to say, absolutely. And by the way, I went to purchase. Oh my God, yes, absolutely. And you're going to get a hold of him and you're going to interview him and eventually you're going to say, look, if there's anything, if I ever hear anything, I'll come to you. That's what you want. You want him actually flipping it and saying, I will help you. So I think a website is a great way to do it. And it actually helps you to break that barrier to get into people, and you can use that.
My advice is to meet as many people as you possibly can, because you never know when you can use that connection later, when you can help them, when they can help you. Go to all of these types of programs and events, meet alumni, meet other people who are visiting campus, and follow up with them after. Say, it was so great meeting you, because they remember that. They don't remember the people who just kind of said hi and bye. But if you kind of make that extra effort, you thank them for coming and open a conversation, then those people will remember you later and they'll be more inclined to help you. So every opportunity you have to meet people, take advantage.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, be a pain in the ass without being a pain in the ass, I guess. You know, if I get an email from somebody that says, hey, this is my resume, I know you, and I get 500 emails a day, I'm going to look at it, write a quick note back, say thanks, and forget about it. But if you do that once a month, I'm going to know the name. I'm going to be, you know, oh man, Johnny's emailing me again. But hey, next time I have an opening, Johnny really wanted a job. Who am I going to reach out to? So that would be my advice.
Actually, Phil, I'm going to interject before you talk.
Yeah.
I'm getting over a cold, by the way. My voice doesn't usually.
It's okay.
My voice doesn't usually crack like that. I swear. It's really weird, like you guys are saying. It's really weird how, you know, it is very difficult to get a job in this industry, for sure, and it's very competitive. But it's weird how if you're persistent and there's things that you go out of your way to do, it's weird how easy it can become. Like when I was a senior here, I was interning at ABC for this soap opera, like I was saying, and there was a bunch of us, a bunch of interns, and as our internship was ending and I was about to graduate, my supervisor left the company. And I was like, why don't I just go in and be like, I'm graduating in a few weeks, can I replace my supervisor? And the producer of the show was like, you know, you're the only intern that came and said that to me. And I got the job. It was that easy. So I think being, like you were saying, like putting yourself out there and being persistent and being like, oh, it would be weird if I like cold called this person or emailed them, just do it anyway, because that might be the difference maker.
And I would go against using social media to contact somebody. That's just me, personally. I would, you want a professional job, you use the professional outlet, use the email, you know, or the website. I would stay away from Twitter, Facebook message. That's me personally, but others might not agree with that.
But you allow them to flex to whatever, you know, you reach out professional and then you allow them to reach back out to you. If they want to LinkedIn message you, then fine.
Yeah, no,
use those for information gathering and then, like you said, reach out. I mean, I don't really have anything better than any of these four people said. It's just about, investing in relationships and investing in yourself. Being the person that someone would think of first. So be the Johnny, be the person on top of the inbox. If you can practice on your professors. It's not brown nosing. It's like being the go-to person, whether it's in your circle of friends or with the board of study or whatever, what have you. And then on a lighter side, you know, take advantage of these amazing, you know, friendships you're cultivating now, because it's harder to meet, you know, friends and people that will matter outside of the office in your professional life. So I mean, I'm still great friends with Steve, somehow. And you know, then you're going to get in so busy with your life that you will have a career, and then there's 16, hopefully, other hours of the day to live, and that's really what matters and is most important. So
I got one more. Just don't be afraid. The old saying is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Don't be afraid. If your parents have contacts for you at a company you want to go to, use it. Use what you have available to you. Don't feel like, oh, I'm going to do it myself. Forget that. Because you look at the competition you're going against. It's not only you got coming out of Purchase, you got every other university around the area. You got NYU, Stern, Tisch kids going after these jobs, right? Why shouldn't you get it? Especially if your parents have an in for you, or if your parents have a friend, or whatever you have. Use your contacts. It's about networking. That's how everybody here got their first job, is networking, one way or another, right? So if you have them, use them. If not, make them.
All right, excellent. So other questions that I haven't asked that you'd like to know from the panelists?
Come on, brave souls.
I guess our job's done.
Yes.
We're very fair.
What are some like resume points you would suggest to students who like never had the opportunity to take an internship?
You're a senior?
Yes.
No interns. No internships. What's your degree?
I double majored gender studies and MSA,
Okay. So
and I had to work. So.
you done projects or anything else you can use those on your resume, especially like when I have, because I teach at NIFA, so I have a lot of kids that come in, or students that are coming in and producing projects, things like that. But one project they're going to be a producer on, the other one they're directing. Set that up as like it's a job. It may have been for a month or whatever, or it's an internship. Use it, especially if it's a job that you're going for that has those specific skills they're looking for. Use that and get an internship now.
And be flexible with it
Yeah.
too. I mean, it's not, just because you don't, you don't lie, obviously, on your resume, but you can have some leeway there with the projects. That was work.
Correct.
That's a job, as far as I'm concerned, right? It's
And
just, you have
relevant
to.
coursework
And
too,
baseball.
for your
Right.
That was
classes.
a job
If
you
there's a
did.
big project you did for a class that you think is relevant for a particular job, then explain exactly what you did for that project and really expand and show examples. I think that's the best way to kind of get around that.
And no focus, oh, sorry.
I did it twice, Phil. I'm sorry.
That's really
It's not
different.
too late either.
You do it, Phil.
Yeah.
Not too late.
But it's better be better than what you were going to say then, because I'm not going to feel bad. But don't focus on what you didn't do. Like, I didn't do an internship, so I'm worried about it on my resume. Talk about how you did do the coursework for a double major, and you worked at the same time, and you were able to multitask and prioritize different things and still get good grades and still work and do that. Because, a manager, worth working for will benefit, or will value those types of things. So.
Really, you're just trying to get the face-to-face, because I don't hire a piece of paper. I hire somebody that I know I can work with, that I can get along with, that's going to be a hard worker for me. The paper is so overrated, and it's the reason why, I'm sorry guys, it's not overrated. You should take, care in getting it done, but it is, there's a reason why I only spend 2 minutes or less on that piece of paper when I'm going to hire somebody.
Sure, the paper gets you in the door, but that's
right.
that's it, really. Then it's you who gets the job. What I was going to say was, and I don't know if this is necessarily what you're talking about, but I found it kind of odd that when I was a senior and I was going to start applying for jobs, to actually sit down and be like, how do I format this resume? Like, what is the resume supposed to look like? How do I make it stand out? And I'll give the Career Development Center a plug and say, I went to them and they're really helpful, and this is what examples of what a resume looks like, or this is why you should include this but not this, and I thought they were really helpful with that.
Absolutely. And start your bullets with active verbs. That's my Other questions? Yes.
At what point in your time, in school, did you realize you were comfortable and you were making the right decision as far as your career choice?
I don't think there was any point for me. I don't think I'm as comfortable with my career choice now. I think it's still developing, and if I came back here, I did this career panel right after I graduated, and I was in a completely different place doing a completely different thing. And if I come back in 5 years, I might be doing the same thing, a completely different thing. So I think I'm still figuring it out. So I think if there's probably a lot of people here that don't know exactly what they want to do yet. And I think that's perfectly fine, because you've certainly developed along the way, and you probably still do in your 40s, 50s.
Yeah, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work in sports, and I'm fortunate enough to have done that my entire professional life. But I didn't know what it was that I was going to do in sports. So I guess back to being open-minded about it.
And be a feedback junkie. In your career, you'll have managers and managers who that will be their job, is to give you 6-month check-in, mid-year, end of year. So do that now with your professors, your TAs, your different group members. Don't take it, when you're giving feedback. This goes for giving feedback too. Don't, okay, that guy got a 4, this girl got a 3. Like when you're doing a group assessment, because these people's, their careers and lives are hinging on it. So find out what, your professors or your friends or whoever think you're good at, and then match that up with what you like to do, and there's your dream job.
For me, it was my junior year. I mean, that's when it really kicks in, and I didn't have any choice to be on a 4-year plan. I couldn't afford anything else. So it was like in and out, get it done. So it was the junior year, we're like, all right, this is the path you're going on, and start doing it and get it down.
Yeah, I think for me it was when I was interning. I kind of learned what I liked and what I didn't like. I interned for a luxury watch company, and I thought this was the worst thing ever. I always thought I wanted to go into fashion, and when I tried it, I absolutely hated it. So, but there were other internships in nonprofit that I absolutely loved. So I think it's just trying a bunch of things, and then you kind of, it's a natural thing. You kind of learn where you're heading from there.
Great. Other questions? Yeah.
Hi. I'm very much interested in writing for television. I'm a dual major. I do playwriting, screenwriting, and communications. So when setting up my resume, would you recommend it as enough piece, like, examples of what I write? Because I'm really interested in writing for television and like writing movies and things along those lines.
I don't know if I'd send it with a resume. I think if they ask for writing a sample, like sometimes when I need to see somebody that can write coverage, I'll ask for a sample of coverage. If they haven't, seen the form that I want it in, I'll send them an example of one who's done it, or I'll send them a script. Actually, I've had that with interns before, where I'll send them a script, give me a coverage on this. This is what a coverage report looks like. So, I mean, unless they specifically ask for it, I don't know. You did one of these pieces of it.
Yeah, I mean, not so much with writing. That's something that like I said, I was exploring myself. But it's a really interesting question. I'm not sure.
I think it's good to show your creative side, though, and you can put that in your resume. You can actually put, whatever things you've written. If you've written, whether it's your hobbies, that you're a writer and you have this published, or you've done this, or I think you should somehow put it in there so people know. And if they ask, and you say, oh, yeah, I'd love to give it to you. Here's my first script, my screenplay. I just finished it. Tell me what you think.
And if you follow his earlier advice and have a website, you could have it there.
There you
You
go.
put the URL on your resume.
A blog or
Yeah.
other links that would be useful.
Yeah.
I think another helpful thing is I remember I had a lot of friends who were writers in this, I guess it was the screenwriting program here, that I don't know if it's still here or not. They wrote plays and put them on here.
Right.
So they were able to put that on their resume, like they wrote a play that was performed at Purchase. And I think that's probably a big deal too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, other questions? Everyone can ask a question. Yes.
Steven, you mentioned that you worked for the Yankees for 5 years, but it was the job that you liked. In regards to working somewhere for a long time, how long do you feel like you should be there before it gets too complacent or you feel like you will grow?
It's a good question. I don't know. I guess you just have to be aware of other opportunities that might come your way and not necessarily pass them up. Now I have sold out for money.
We always do.
You have expenses. There's different things that you need to gauge along the way, but really it's a personal feel. And at the time, this is all hindsight. If I didn't, if I wasn't asked that question, I don't know. I mean, it's really just that's my self-assessment, I guess, now looking back on it, 8 years later, but not necessarily I don't think there's a way to quantify that.
I think it's one of the hardest things you can do is, be at a job that you've been at for a long time and know when it's the right time to leave. Or know when, there's no room for growth here, or, it's just not ideal, and know when that time is to leave. Because I think a lot of people probably get stuck in a job that they're comfortable in, and, I think you need to continue to grow, in your career, whether that means staying in one place or leaving, and knowing when to leave. It's really hard.
I know for me, and it's what happened to Deanna, my first job I had to leave because the company was bought. And then you got to look for another job, and I work for another company. It's bought. In the entertainment industry, especially independent film and distribution, independent TV usually, those companies have about a 3 to 5 year life cycle. So you're going to be changing jobs a lot. So always be networking out there so that you can go to the next thing. I mean, I've worked for big independent studios like Larimar or Spelling Films, and they're bought by bigger conglomerates, and it doesn't matter how much money the little one makes, it's not enough to move the needle for stock. That's all about how do you make the stock move. So for them, they're always shutting down the smaller ones because they want the big needle to move. So you have to be willing to, always be out there always looking for the next big thing. And especially in independent film, most people want to do something on their own anyway, whether you're going to be producing film or TV, you're going to be really an entrepreneur, I guess, in that ultimate sense of the word. And raising financing here or doing this here, and there's always going to be opportunities that present you, people coming to you and say, hey, that's why I'm a consultant now, because people wanted me to do so many different things. I'm like, I can do that. So now you get paid to consult for people. And then you teach, you do a lot of different things. But I think the old standard when I grew up was you want to go to work for a company and be there 30 years and get the golden watch. It's not there. There's not many companies that actually do that I know of. You just don't. So your career, you'll be doing this, like I said, you'll be going through different things. And hopefully you enjoy them. And hopefully the company lasts long enough for you to get your 401k.
But when it comes to complacency and mobility, not to be too tongue-in-cheek, but it's always better to look for a job when you have one than when you don't. So you don't want to wait too long.
Right.
Decide that you want to leave before they decide that you should leave, I guess.
Yeah, you don't want the decision to be made for you. Yeah. Although a lot of times, to your point, in some industries it is. It's just the fact of life in the world that we live in now.
It is true that that most people have 3 to 5 career changes in a lifetime. I mean, that's still a fact, and the fact that the careers are evolving and the job market evolves and skills have to be, you have to train and retrain and build your skill base for then the next move and be ready when that opportunity arises. So I think those are all excellent points.
And a lot of the different industry verticals are kind of, homogenous in a way where, and this is certainly true in financial services, it's probably true in, in sports media, or definitely it is, what you're saying, is that you'll go somewhere for 3 to 5 years, you'll leave, you'll go to a competitor for 3 or 4 years, and then you can go back to the firm you started at, skip a level, and then everybody's doing that. And then, you have a little bit more experience there. So you'll see that a lot, and don't be afraid to go back, I would say, either.
A lot of the bigger companies too, they want you to grow within their structure. I mean, that's a big emphasis that my company is really hammering home on employee development, especially when we get somebody in and we know that they're good. We want to keep them and keep pushing them up the ladder that we have. So, it never ends, right? You're here right now for your experiences and trying to gain them. Once you're in the business world, it's the same thing. You're constantly refining your skill and trying to, obviously make more money, but then, providing for your company. And then comes down.
Yeah, great. Other questions?
What has your guys been, what has your lowest point been, and what advice can you give to get out of that point?
My lowest point was living with my roommate with our beds this far apart in a basement apartment, eating tuna out of a can and noodles with salad dressing right out of college. I mean, that's it. That's what it was. You just work, keep going, chasing the dream. Following your dreams. That's it.
Yeah, for me it was when I got laid off. I didn't have my job for very long, so I kind of was right back to the post-college life and having my loans were going to start needing to be repaid, and I needed to figure it out. So I just started going to things like this, networking events, and that's how I got back on my feet. But there was 2.5 months that I wasn't working, so you wake up every day and what are you waking up for? What are you doing? You log on the computer, there's maybe a new job a day, but it gets very frustrating and very discouraging, but you can't let it bring you down. You have to kind of be more proactive and just get out there and meet people.
My lowest point was 2 weeks after I started my current job, about 3 years ago. I just had this overwhelming, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I left where I was super comfortable, I felt like I knew what I was doing every day going in, wasn't making mistakes, and then you leave and you jump yourself, you throw yourself into this entirely different situation and comfort level, like Mark was saying, and it sucked. And I was like, oh crap! And now I'm screwed because I can't leave. It's been 2 weeks. That would look awful on my resume. It would be a waste of 2 weeks, etc. And it gets better. So I guess the advice is it didn't get better because I got numb to it. It gets better because you have to give things a chance, and you have to have enough faith in yourself to where, you know what, yeah, I can do this. This is a challenge for yourself. And I think to answer the previous question or a couple questions ago, you should know when you're ready to move, when you're just not challenged. You're not learning anything. You're not making mistakes anymore. You're just like, okay, it's another day. Punch in, punch out. So I guess the advice is give things a chance and really bet on yourself.
Yeah, anytime you make a change, it's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Wendy said 3 to 5 times. I mean, that's a lot of change. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to retire or collect in on that 401k, but no, it's true. You just have to roll with it. And it does. It gets better because you get better. So
Mine is certainly, I mean, it's different in my industry because you're dealing with a lot of volatile.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my last point is a little bit similar to yours. I was lucky where, the day after graduation, I started a job at ABC, which was great, but then the show I was working on got canceled, and it had been on the air for like 40 years, so we were not expecting it. One life to live.
One life to live, oh.
So then after that, I ended up being unemployed for like 8 months. And at first I was like, this is going to be great. I went right to work after college. It's going to be fun. And then about 2 months in, I was like, holy shit. What am I going to do? So it was really scary, I think. And, I think a lot of people probably experience that right after they leave college. But, so while it was scary, it was a great learning experience. I got a lot of things done that I wanted to do. I took some classes and stuff, and then came out of it. So, even if you experience that right after college or right soon after, I think it's okay because you can make the most of that time and then apply for jobs and hopefully get one.
All right, excellent. We can take one last question, or I can pause it and let us use 15 minutes for actual networking, because I imagine you want to meet the people sitting at your table, or our panelists one-on-one. So any last questions before we open it up for brief networking time? Okay, one more. Yeah.
What is the most oddest or weirdest experience you ever encountered in your career, and it's going to help you with your growth?
I want to hear yours.
Go ahead.
Weirdest. I mean, I worked for radio personalities that were a little, they were fun. They were fun people to be around, but they were also demanding in ways. And I think it was my first month on the job. One of my responsibilities was to print out note cards for the Yankee broadcasters. And I left the notebook on my desk in my apartment. And I'm at the stadium. And I go in there, and it's a new series and a new team, and the broadcaster expects to have the book on the table, and it wasn't there. And she screamed at me in the middle of a media press room, and I was almost on the verge of tears. I was right out of college, and I was shaking. And Sweeney Murray came up to me, one of the AP reporters, and put his arm around me and said, it's all right. It's not the first time that that's happened, and it probably won't be the last. Just do what you can to get this job done for her. And so I ran upstairs and begged the director of the Yankees Media Relations to get on a computer and have a high-speed printer where I could print out about 400 pages worth of notes, and I did it. And that just kind of gave me a lesson right off the bat, like, hey, you got to find a way. I don't know if it was the weirdest, but it was the most embarrassing.
I have a weird one. I worked for Zyrtec, the allergy medication, and Deborah Messing was our celebrity spokesperson, and she has some interesting dietary requests whenever we work with her. So I spent half of a day running around the city looking for this particular organic poached salmon and green juice. I don't know if it necessarily made me better, but I think, as I said before, you have to be open and ready for anything because, especially in PR with things like that, you never really know what you're going to be faced with working with celebrities and personalities. So I think that was definitely the weirdest.
I just want to jump in 1 second. First of all, I'd love to get everybody to give a round of applause for the